Here you
The
go,
rain had
kids.
been
One hot
falling since
chocolate.
dawn, the
Wow,
kind
thank
of
you.
cold,
Thanks. It
stubborn
looks
rain that
great.
seeps
You're
into
very
bones
welcome.
and makes the
Enjoy.
whole city feel heavier, and Aisha felt that weight as she wiped the last empty table in the small roadside cafe where she worked, her hands red and rough from years of soap and water, her back aching in a way that reminded her she was only 32 but already felt much older, because life had never been gentle with her. The cafe sat on the edge of the city, where office buildings slowly gave way to cramped apartments and broken sidewalks, and most days it survived on cheap tea, lentil soup, and workers who counted coins before ordering. Aisha had been a waitress there since she was 19, ever since her father died and her mother fell ill, forcing her to choose responsibility over dreams. She used to imagine another life once, a life where she studied, traveled, maybe even owned a place like this instead of serving in it, but those dreams faded quietly, replaced by routines: wake before sunrise, catch the overcrowded bus, smile at customers even when her feet burned, and return home to a silent rented room that smelled faintly of damp walls and old memories. That afternoon, business was slow, the rain scaring away even the regulars, and the owner had already started complaining about losses, muttering under his breath as he counted the register. That was when Aisha noticed them through the foggy glass door, two boys, no older than 8 or 9, standing under the broken awning across the street, their clothes thin, shoes torn, hair plastered to their foreheads by rain. They didn't come in at first. They just stood there, staring at the cafe, at the warm yellow light, at the steam rising from bowls on tables, like people staring at a world they weren't allowed to enter. Aisha had seen hunger before, she had grown up with it, but something about the way the younger boy clutched the older one's sleeve, shivering, made her chest tighten. When they finally pushed the door open, the bell rang softly, and the owner shot them an irritated look before they even spoke. They walked to a corner table and sat quietly, their eyes moving nervously, hands folded on the table as if afraid to touch anything. Minutes passed. They didn't call her, didn't look at the menu taped to the wall. They just sat there. The owner noticed too. "If they're not ordering, tell them to leave," he whispered sharply to Aisha. "This isn't a shelter." She nodded, because nodding was easier than arguing when you needed the job, but her feet felt heavy as she approached their table. Up close, she saw how thin they were, how the older boy tried to look brave while the younger one's lips trembled. "Can I help you?" she asked gently. The older boy swallowed. "Appa, we don't have money," he said quietly, his voice barely louder than the rain outside. "But, could we just sit for a little while? It's cold." Aisha felt something crack inside her, a memory of nights she'd spent hungry, pretending sleep was food, of her own childhood when kindness from strangers had sometimes been the only reason she survived. She glanced at the counter. The owner was busy arguing with a supplier on the phone. Without thinking too much, because thinking would have stopped her, she said, "You must be hungry." The boys exchanged a look. The younger one nodded. Aisha went to the kitchen, her heart pounding. She knew what she was risking. She paid for meals out of her own pocket sometimes, but she barely earned enough as it was. Still, she ordered 2 full plates, rice, lentils, vegetables, even an egg each. When she placed the steaming food in front of them, the boys froze, as if it might disappear if they moved too fast. "Eat," she said softly, smiling. "Slowly. It's hot." They ate like people who hadn't eaten properly in days, trying to be polite, but unable to hide their hunger. The younger boy's eyes filled with tears as he chewed, and Aisha had to look away because her own eyes were burning. When they finished, she brought them tea, ignoring the sharp look the owner gave her. "Thank you," the older boy said, standing up. "We'll remember this forever." She laughed gently, waving it off. "Just grow up strong," she said. "And be kind when you can." They hesitated, then the older one reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, folded piece of paper. "Our names," he said. "So you don't forget us." "I'm Amir." "He's Samir." She took it, smiling, and tucked it into her apron, not knowing why it felt important. When they left, disappearing into the rain, Aisha felt lighter and heavier at the same time, as if she'd done something small yet irreversible. That night, the owner scolded her, docked her pay, and warned her not to repeat it. She went home with less money than she needed for rent, but she slept with a strange warmth in her chest. Days turned into weeks, weeks into years. Life didn't suddenly improve. Her mother passed away. Rent increased. The cafe changed owners. Aisha moved to another small job, then another, always serving, always surviving. She never saw the boys again. Sometimes, when life felt especially cruel, she wondered what had happened to them, whether they were safe, whether they even remembered her. The paper with their names stayed tucked inside an old book on her shelf, yellowing with time, a quiet reminder of a rainy afternoon and a choice she never regretted. 15 years passed like that, quietly, relentlessly, until kindness became just another memory buried under bills and responsibilities. And yet, on certain nights, when exhaustion wrapped around her like a blanket and hope felt foolish, Aisha would think of those boys and feel a small spark inside her, a reminder that even in the hardest moments, a single act of kindness could echo far beyond what we see.